This is Free Talk Live, where we're live every night of the week, every day of the year, and maybe with one or two exceptions when we go to some show or something like that. But that doesn't stop you from calling us tonight and speaking your mind. Our number, our toll-free number, is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. You can also hit us up on Discord. Discord, you will sound like you're in the studio with us. And, man, who wouldn't want to be in the studio with us? By the way, the us is myself, Chris.
Ian.
And Rich Paul.
And with Discord, you load a little client on your smartphone, on your laptop. You connect to the Free Talk Live LRN Discord server, and you will sound like you're here. You can go right into a room and be connected right to the show, or you can use the phones. Like I said, that's what people used to do back in the day, before we had all these things like Discord and high technology.
And is that discord.lrn.fm?
Yes, it is, Rich. Thank you. But there's been a lot of talk about New Zealand and the tragedy that occurred over there. It was a horrendous event perpetrated by somebody who could, at the time, legally possess a gun in New Zealand and evidently in some other places.
He was from Australia.
But now the Kiwis, the New Zealanders, have chosen to go, I'm not sure what to say here, full Bloomberg. Maybe that would be a way to put it.
Like the guy from New York?
Absolutely. A big gun grabber, and say that, okay, overnight, pretty much, at least figuratively, any weapon that looks scary has to be confiscated, has to be turned in, will be destroyed. And I've seen some social media posts that have talked about this, and you know, the proud New Zealanders who are so proud to turn in their weapons.
Okay, now what's the tactical definition of an assault rifle? What?
I'll give you the absolute.
How are they defining that?
Well, they look scary, Rich.
Well, I know they look scary, but this can't be just gun racism, okay? I mean, really, if we paint the things, are they going to be okay with them?
Well, no, Rich. Even if you change the color, it's still going to have a scary shape. For example, if you ever play Call of Duty or one of those, you know, on video games or things like that, you run around with a scary-looking gun. And the scary-looking gun shoots lots of bad guys. Therefore, all scary-looking guns will cause people to run around and shoot everyone. That's sort of the logic.
Yeah. Well, that, and I think the media kind of fakes out what it is, because I've seen several times when they've talked about so-called assault rifles on the news, and they've then, while they're talking about it, they're showing police officers on a range firing off fully automatic weapons.
Right.
And people think that's what it is. I sat there. The reason I'm hyper aware of that is because I watched one of those commercials with my mother, and my mother doesn't understand the gun issue. I'm sorry, Ma. You're wrong. But so I saw that with her, and she was like, why would anybody need to be able to put out that much firepower? And I was like, oh, those are fully automatic weapons they're firing, Mom. Those are not the weapons they're talking about.
Right. The weapons they are talking about are semi-automatic. And, which means semi-automatic means that when you squeeze the trigger, a bullet is fired, and then another round is chambered into the gun, so you're ready to shoot again. And another squeeze of the trigger will yield a second bullet that will come out the end of the barrel. There is nothing automatic about these, and they are not quote-unquote machine guns.
One pull, one bullet. That's what you get.
That's what you get, and that's all you get.
Okay. Whereas a machine gun, you just kind of turn it on, and it sprays buttons until you turn it off or run out of or it sprays bullets until you turn it off or run out of bullets.
Correct. If you depress the trigger, it will continue to fire round after round until you release the trigger. And I've shot those weapons too,
and that's crazy fun. An M16 or an AK fully automatic, they're fun to shoot.
I'm with you on that one, but they're impractical too. And if anybody's been through basic training, and I assume somebody out there's probably been in the military at some point, you didn't do a whole lot of practice firing 3-round bursts or firing fully automatic because it's very difficult to control. Now, if you were in special forces, some branch, and that was your job, then you got a lot more training on how to do full auto firing or 3-round burst firing. But for everybody else,
I did it in my military academy, and then there's free staters with fully automatic weapons I've shot with up in the woods out here. It's fun.
New Hampshire, where this show is being broadcast from, has more fully automatic weapons, legal fully automatic weapons, than any other state in the union per capita.
And I'll tell you what, I haven't been on the air that much during the Trump reign, so I haven't taken Republicans to task for this, and now, of course, it's too late. But Republicans, you controlled the House. You controlled the Senate. You controlled the presidency. You could have repealed every single gun law because every single gun law is unconstitutional, and you know it. So you guys dropped the ball. Okay, NRA, you dropped the ball. We should be fighting right now over the Democrats trying to outlaw machine guns again because you guys got rid of the ban.
Well, it's a great point because if the Republicans actually cared about smaller government, which is frequently their talking point, then they should have been able to just get rid of a good chunk of it while they were in charge, right?
Yeah.
But they didn't do anything.
And, they should know, and we should acknowledge that the reason for keeping and bearing arms is so you can shoot cops and so you can shoot soldiers who come to enforce the government's will on you when the government's will is unjust. That's what they're for. And it works, is the amazing thing. We talked about a couple that was killed a few weeks ago defending their home when it turned out the assailants were a SWAT team coming in saying that they were selling heroin and they were not selling heroin. Well, they shot back and they died. They died heroes for defending their homes against an encroaching government. But guess what happened? That town isn't doing no-knock raids anymore.
Yeah, and
so shooting back works.
I hope that the sheriff continues that policy.
I hope he does too, and I think we need to keep the heat on him to do that. And I think we should also, that's a place where we happen to know the guy who runs the Republican committee in Keene. As a matter of fact, he's in the room with us. So maybe we could suggest that he draft a position for Republicans of Keene that the Keene police should not do no-knock raids.
Hold on, Ian.
Maybe that should be an official position of the Republican Party.
It's a great idea.
Ian, you've only been involved in the Republican Party. Did I just hear you say that Ian now runs the Republican Party?
Ian's the county city Republican chair.
Are you?
He's the chair.
It's true.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, I'm technically a Republican. That's how I'm registered right now because I voted for Rand Paul.
What has the world come to? 855-450-FREE. But, Ian, you were starting before we so rudely interrupted you, but you were going to tell us a little bit about what's going on in New Zealand now.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's, of course, more bad news coming out of New Zealand. We covered over the last couple of days how they've been arresting people for sharing a video because the video of the shooting, because it's illegal to do that stuff there. They've got censorship policies that have been in place for decades, if not hundreds of years. In New Zealand, and now people are voluntarily turning in their guns, but also they're looking at, apparently they've just passed some sort of ban on semi-auto so-called military-style weaponry. We can talk more about it coming up.
What's your take? Should semi-automatic rifles be outlawed? More on that when we return. Free Talk. This is Free Talk Live. In our first hour tonight, 855-450-FREE is our toll-free number. You can also hit us up on Discord at discord.lrn.com. Hey, and if you...
Nope, not .com. God, I don't know what that'll take you to.
I don't know why I keep saying that. LRN.FM.
Yeah.
Let's say that again. Discord.lrn.fm. And you can also, if you're into watching the show, a lot of people do like to tune in and see what we look like and see the funny faces I will make when I look at Rich, and Rich will make funny faces at me. You can thank you for that example.
Is there a Rich cam?
There is. You can find it at twitch.freetalklive.com, and you can watch there. There's also chat rooms and stuff like that, so you can interact with other people that are listening. And we've been talking about gun control, and in this case, it's going on in New Zealand, which suffered a horrible tragedy.
Well, it's been going on in New Zealand. It's just going to get worse.
I know, but it's the typical reaction when something bad happens. We must try anything, do something. That's the whole thing. That's the politician's thing, is do something. Show people we care. So they just basically disarmed a whole bunch of people, or they're planning on it. But we're going to learn more about that. Ian's been reading. Where's this story come from?
Stuff.co.nz, which is a New Zealand-based site. But I do want to tell you about Bitcoin.com as well, which is your premier source for everything Bitcoin-related. Whether it's getting started, maybe you've never really taken the time to learn about cryptocurrency, they can help you over there. They can also help you choose a Bitcoin wallet, buy some Bitcoin, and show you where you can spend your Bitcoin. You can also read the latest news headlines or engage with the community on their Bitcoin forum. And those are just some of the myriad of features available there at Bitcoin.com. As the story coming out of New Zealand, and there's a couple of them. One is that some of the people of New Zealand have just decided they want to go ahead and start turning in their guns before it's even legally required for them to do so. So this is kind of one of those rah-rah stories of the media cheering on these brave men and women, or men apparently, who've lined up to turn in their guns.
Are they giving any specifics on numbers?
Of course not.
Because last I heard, the number of people who had turned in guns was 37
in New Zealand in the last week.
In New Zealand, and the number of guns in New Zealand is 1.2 million.
All right.
So that's not putting. That's they're slightly less safe, except that clearly the people who turned in their guns were stupid.
Right.
So getting guns out of the hands of stupid people is probably good.
There you go.
John Hart, who's been a sheep and beef farmer for 15 years, says he took his semi-automatic weapon into Masterson Police Station on Monday as he, quote, couldn't in all conscience, unquote, keep the rifle after seeing the loss of life in Christchurch.
Oh, my.
He said further, quote, until today, I was one of the New Zealanders who owned a semi-automatic rifle. On the farm, they are a useful tool in some circumstances, but my convenience doesn't outweigh the risk of misuse.
Okay.
Now, does he think he might go crazy and shoot up a bunch of Muslims? Is that the concern? Is he an Islamophobe?
He may be right on the cusp. He's spending all day around sheep and what was the other cattle?
It sounds
beef,
like he's close to snapping. Maybe he shouldn't have a gun.
There was a great response to that tweet, and I'm trying to remember exactly.
Oh, this person tweeted? Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
they didn't cite where they
came
saw
through
it.
Twitter. I saw it on Twitter, and basically, it's like congratulations in depriving your family, and I'm paraphrasing, depriving your family of any protection,
right?
Which is what you've done. You have
and publicly announcing it as well. So anybody that wanted to target him and his family would, presuming he didn't use a pseudonym, And in fact, they even have his paperwork here that they actually photographed his paperwork. Or maybe he photographed
he posted it with his tweet.
I mean, it would be tragic if it happened. I would hate it if it happened, but if this guy actually gets whacked by some criminal, I'm going to have to nominate him for a Darwin Award.
Right? That would be the proper response for that. And of course, U.S., because we are the moral compass for the world, at least that's what politicians think. Bernie Sanders says, this is what real action to stop gun violence looks like. We must follow New Zealand's lead, take on the NRA, and ban the sale and distribution of assault weapons in the United States.
And why is that a special issue, gun violence, as opposed to other kinds of violence? There's a great scene from All in the Family where Gloria is screeching at Archie about gun control, and she says, don't you know that 30 million people a year are killed with guns in the United States? And Archie looks at her and says, would you feel better if they was pushed out a wind as a little girl?
Nice.
So apparently there's also this prime minister character there, Jacinda Ardern. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but she has applauded those who had voluntarily surrendered their guns to police and said others could do the same. Quote, within 10 days of this horrific act of terrorism, we will have announced reforms that I think will make New Zealanders safer. Because whenever you put things down on pieces of paper, people become safer. Isn't that right?
It's a paper shield. It will protect you.
Now, what do you think? Are these guys selected in advance? Are they hired by some anti-gun group?
Who, the people turning in their guns?
Yeah.
I suppose there's some of that, but you're going to have, what I don't want to do is belittle the tragedy. How many people dead? 50?
Yeah, at least.
Yeah.
That was horrendous.
Yeah.
And I don't want to...
Well, guess what? It really wasn't horrendous on the scale of what happens in the world every day, because you want to find some Islamophobes? The U.S. Army, I guarantee, blew away way more than 50 Muslims that day.
You must be talking about...
every day. Day in, day out, over and over and over again. So let's not sit here and pretend that this is a big deal on the scale of things. This disappears within the tide of blood that is generated by U.S. foreign policy.
Damn, Rich, you're on fire tonight.
You must be talking about Muslim troops.
I like this new pen. This thing is great.
But you're not. What you're talking about
is
is civilians that are killed every day in wars around the world, many of which the U.S. is involved in, and some of which are supported by New Zealand. New Zealand is one of the Five Eyes or the Six Eyes or the Seven Eyes or whatever.
The Axis of Good or whatever they call themselves.
Behold the nine-eyed beast? I don't know.
Yeah. But you have New Zealand playing at least a support role in that, and they have other issues to worry about. The numbers on gun laws are blown out of proportion anyway. For instance, they include all suicides, and there's a big difference between that and cold-blooded murder.
Oh, yeah. Well, absolutely. Suicide is a basic human right. The only crime in people committing suicide by gun is that they have to use a gun instead of something gentler that'll leave a prettier corpse.
Absolutely. 855-450 free. When we return, we're going to hear more about what's going on in New Zealand. And we've got a couple other interesting stories. What if you could walk into drugstores in the United States and buy CBD? Wouldn't that be interesting?
Absolutely.
855-450 free. This.
Bitcoin.com is delighted to announce their latest partnership with the gift card specialists at eGifter. With many of the world's leading brands on their roster, it is now easier than ever to get the gift cards of your favorite brands with Bitcoin Cash. To get started, just follow these simple steps. Visit giftcards.bitcoin.com, pick the gift card you want, follow the instructions on your screen, and make your payment using your Bitcoin Cash wallet. Sit tight and your gift card will be delivered to you as soon as it's ready. That's giftcards.bitcoin.com.
This is Free Talk Live, 855-450 free. Free is in freedom, free is in no free lunch. Sorry, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Sorry, Bernie Sanders. You got to pay for things, or you got to get out of the business.
They know you got to pay for things. That's why they're going to take money from you.
I know that.
Do it.
But they keep telling us everything's free.
They're going to pay in your blood.
Somebody's going to pay. 855-450-FREE. And again, you can hit us up with Discord. You can find out more at discord.lrn.fm. And a whole bunch of other things we do for you, our radio listener. But right now we've been talking about New Zealand, and there, I would say...
we've talked more about New Zealand in the last week than the entire history, I think, of
history of Free Talk
doing
Live.
Free Talk Live.
We weren't covering the shooting of the Hobbit films?
No.
Didn't come up?
No.
Not really a libertarian angle to that?
The only libertarian story I remember coming out in New Zealand is, I think years ago, and I don't know if it's still like this, they repealed their entire farm policy. Another thing the Republicans could have done.
They could have.
They repealed the entire farm policy, so no subsidies, no regulations. They completely deregulated their farms, and their farming industry exploded as a result, and it was doing very well. That's the only libertarian news I remember from New Zealand.
We have talked about them in the perspective of the World Economic Freedom Rankings. New Zealand tends to rank higher than the United States by several positions.
Yes.
Are they really?
Yeah,
Yes.
on the Economic Freedom
Now,
Index.
who puts that one out?
There's a couple of different organizations that do it. Heritage Foundation does one, and then there's another one, I think, by Cato.
Cato does one. And,
Okay.
And Fraser Institute. I think they work with Cato on the Free the World.
So the U.S. has been dropping like a stone because we used to be like 1 or 2.
Well,
I don't know if it was ever that high, at least in my recollection.
I was thinking
it might have been like
I guess
3
you're
to
right.
5
There
or
were
something.
we were like there were some smaller countries.
Yeah,
like
we didn't beat Hong Kong
Lichtenberg
and Singapore.
Well,
Hong Kong and Singapore were...
It's your time preference, too. I mean, we may have been way up there in 1967 or 1970 or something like that. But those days are those days
I think
are long
we were.
gone.
I think we were much freer then.
Or you've been listening to the news. That may be where you got that we're much higher in the last couple of years. You were probably listening to mainstream news, Rich.
Well,
could be.
That'll do it.
I mean, I can't say I haven't listened to any of it.
Right.
But, usually I listen to mainstream news the way Woody Allen reads the Bible, penciling in the corrections and the margins.
But we've been discussing a story out of New Zealand. The goal, actually, it's implemented. And I don't know where it's at in the legislative process or if it's been signed into law by their prime minister yet. But the plan is to basically ban any assault weapons, whatever those are. And everybody's going to
Legislation is being drafted.
Is that where it's
the law
at?
expected to take effect by April 11th, according to Fox News.
Yep.
And Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern.
It'll be interesting to see if they can define an assault weapon.
Military-style semi-automatic weapons is what they intend to ban.
Okay.
Quote.
So, please.
We will ban all high-capacity magazines. We will ban all parts with the ability to convert semi-automatic or any other type of firearm into a military-style semi-automatic weapon.
Ooh.
She said. In short, every semi-automatic weapon used in the terrorist attack on Friday will be banned in this country.
Okay, so ban every part that will turn a semi-automatic weapon into a semi-automatic weapon. That is, I think
that would. I mean, if she knew what she was talking about,
she may not have any idea.
Pick on her too much because U.S. politicians are the same.
Sure.
They wanted, and the legislation during the assault weapons ban banned the number of accessories you could have on your rifle. So a hand grip, which does nothing for the lethality of a weapon, counted as one. A flash suppressor, something that keeps the flash of the barrel from blinding you when you shoot. It's very bright. That counted as one because it looked scary. Having a collapsible stock looked scary. These were cosmetic.
Now, it sounds like some of these things would contribute to concealability, like a collapsible stock. Am I wrong there?
Yeah, it makes it more concealable, but I'll happily. I'll do this next time I do the show. I'll bring in a semi-automatic, like an AR-15.
Sweet, show and tell.
I'll bring one in, and if you happen to be watching on twitch.lrn.fm, you can check out my gun. I don't care.
By the way, I apparently was wrong about Twitch's position on firearms, because I thought that they had some sort of restriction on actually showing a real gun. But the other day I was on their website, just on the front page, and the featured video was two guys shooting real guns in a. So somebody, I think, misinterpreted the. Well, I'll have to actually look it up and see what it says. But I think it's only illegal to have, or only against their rules to have, things that are illegal for you to have.
When people are looking for something to be upset about, they'll usually find it. So some people will read terms of service, and they're like, it says they can, violate your dog.
But Twitch,
by this convoluted definition, they can violate your dog.
Twitch was born out of the gaming industry, where people run around with guns and shoot each other.
Right.
They're pixelated, fake guns, but guns, I guess, as much as a fully automatic weapon is to a semi-automatic weapon in New Zealand, it's just as close. I thank you for pointing that out, which is why I usually walk with when I do the show, I'm not having my left side towards cameras, because that's what side I'm always carrying a gun.
Are you a lefty?
I'm a lefty, and
okay.
Yeah, but I don't even in New Hampshire we have so far we still have pretty liberal gun laws, and I carry every day everywhere. So if you ever want to whack me, make sure I'm in the shower. Don't take that sentence the wrong way. 855-450-FREE.
Do you want to hear more about the plan to ban?
Please.
So Jacinda Ardern continued to say the government is working on a large-scale buyback plan for citizens possessing the weapons affected by the ban. The plan will allow the guns to be surrendered to police and, quote, eventually destroyed. Once the buyback is complete, she said, owners would receive, quote, fair and reasonable compensation, but didn't elaborate. Those who still possess the banned guns after a, quote, reasonable period for returns has passed will be found breaking the law, said Ardern. Penalties will include fines of up to $4,000 and or 3 years in prison, with the draft legislation proposing even stiffer measures.
Huh. So are they doing buybacks first, or they're going right for
buyback first?
Buyback first, okay.
And then, so they've gone whole hog for confiscation, though.
I mean, it's going to be illegal. I don't know if that means they're going to go door to door, but they might.
Yeah.
Well,
I would say there's a good chance.
That's basically legally that's confiscation.
Yeah.
And
what else would they do? Why wouldn't they go door to door if they've got a record?
Right.
Well, the reason they wouldn't go door to door is they don't want to find out how many people
are willing
to die.
Good point.
And sooner or later, I mean, New Zealand. I'll tell you what, if New Zealand revolts against its government over this, I'll be real tempted to get on a plane.
I think a lot of people would, but they won't. That's me, sitting back here 10,000 miles away.
What we're watching, though, this is all, I mean, the world news since 1947 has been pretty much a well-coordinated publicity stunt that's lasted for a long, long time. So who knows what's really going on?
It does. So what do you think? Should the New Zealanders revolt because the government is threatening to take away their right to protect themselves? 855-450-FREE. This is Free Talk Live. This is Free Talk Live, 855-450-FREE. That's our toll-free number. That's 855. Man, Ian, I just lost it there for a second.
Spacing out?
No kidding. I think
the numbers are right there beneath that monitor. If you look to your right.
I know they are. 855-450-3733. No, what it was I was looking through text files on my computer, finding a list of names, and I'm still stuck on trying to figure out why I recorded these 4 names. No idea why, but that's how my mind sometimes does not work. It's like a little bug, just it got caught in a loop. You're a programming guy, Rich. You know that. It just sort of sits and spins for a while.
You just have to control-C that.
I know.
It's true.
But we've been talking about New Zealand and New Zealand's reaction or overreaction to gun control in light of the horrific events that took 50 lives. And they went full Bloomberg. I'm naming that term for Mayor Bloomberg, who was an avid gun grabber, formerly of New York. And now he seems to spend, or maybe not spend as much time, but he certainly spends a lot of money in states that have relatively liberal gun laws like New Hampshire. So it's a whole lot of Bloomberg money being pumped into the state to support the Democrats' desire to rid the world of things that look scary.
It would be nice if there was some media out there, and maybe it exists, just I haven't seen it yet, from the pro-gun side of things. Those people must exist in New Zealand. And so far, the media's, all reporting on what the government's going to do. And then there's this one story that we started earlier about these people who are we're just good citizens turning in our weapons because that's what good citizens should do. That's the mentality of the news media that's been covering the situation there so far. But it does make me wonder, what are the pro-gun folks saying in New Zealand? Do they have any kind of media that's willing to actually talk to them? Because, I don't see, two sides to this story in the media.
See, this is all so convenient, too. That's the thing. It happens with this new photogenic, telegenic leader in place in New Zealand.
Who, this Jacinda Ardern?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she's, the media's been lavishing praise on her. I think she just got elected. Am I right in that?
She looks creepy to me, but hey, whatever floats your boat.
She looks creepy to me too, but most of their spokesmen look creepy to me, but
right.
And they set it up and it actually happens in a place where the political system is such that they can railroad something like this through this fast.
Right.
Which is pretty amazing. And everything about this feels like a staged event. And I'm not saying that people didn't die,
Right.
Because I think when they stage an event, they actually go in and kill people or arrange to have people killed. But this all has the feeling of a staged event to me, and I don't know why. I feel a wrongness in it in the same way that I felt a wrongness in that Jussie guy's story about the two guys yelling, "This is MAGA country," and beating him up.
And this is the actor who falsified police reports?
It turned out that this was one of those cases where he'd hired immigrants to do a job that Americans just wouldn't do.
Right. Ardern said she and the cabinet would work through legal exemptions to the ban, such as for farmers who need to cull their herds, but said any exemptions would be, quote, tightly regulated. She said further, "We do have guns in New Zealand that are used for legitimate purposes by responsible owners every single day, and that includes our rural community that manages pests, used for animal welfare, and also for recreation," she said. She believes the vast majority of these owners will support the ban because it's about, quote, national interest and, quote, safety.
How is this about national interest, or how is it about safety? So New Zealand...
Well, the way it affects national interest is if China invades.
That's a big one right there. But it's not like these guns just sprang into existence, or these laws have been on the books, obviously, for years. And they had something go horribly wrong. I'm terribly sorry about that. I hate to hear stories where that end with people dying, regardless of how they die. If it's in war, if it's at the hands of a madman, I hate to hear this kind of stuff. But the idea that these laws that evidently had been working in New England New Zealand for years and years and years, suddenly failed.
Right.
How do you come to that conclusion?
Well, people are crazy. And
Thank you,
so
Ian.
the laws don't make a damn bit of difference when somebody's a psychopath and is willing to break whatever laws are necessary to acquire the guns that they need to go on a slaughter.
Yeah. And, the thing is, anybody who's really determined will still be able to build guns.
Sure.
You
Get
can
a ghost
3D
gunner.
print them. You can build them with parts from a hardware store. This has always been the case. So I don't know if anybody in New Zealand is listening over the net, but if you're in New Zealand, start studying how to make some fully automatic weapons. Why stop at semi?
Speaking of
Right.
building guns, and remember they're going to do a gun buyback here in New Zealand is the plan.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a story years ago? I don't remember if it was Austin, Texas, or where it was, but there was one of those gun buyback things, and I don't remember if it was the government who was running the buyback, but there was one of these gun
Usually
buybacks,
is.
and somebody put together like the cheapest possible gun you could make, like a
The $5 shotgun is
Yeah.
made out of a 2x4.
that kind of stuff. Like just built his own guns out of $10 worth of parts or whatever, and then got $50 to $100 gift certificates for just turning in, half a dozen of them or something like that.
I'm going to
See,
dig
if
up the
I
story.
wasn't a felon, I would be doing that, and I would be mass producing these things so I could walk in with, $10,000 worth of them and bleed their $200,000 program
Right.
dry.
I'm going to dig this up because it was a story within the last few weeks where a guy went in with a very specific plan. It was to earn enough money in gun buybacks to buy himself an actual nice gun. That was his goal.
What did he use to turn in?
He started out with things that he had. All the parts came from Home Depot. That was
Okay.
the only. He went to one place. He made a variety of handguns and or weapons of some kind that were technically firearms, and he just kept making them worse and worse, and then getting back in line,
Wow.
till it was like a piece of pipe, a shotgun shell, a nail, and a hammer, and collecting his money. And his goal, like I said, was to be able to afford a nice
Did
gun.
he make his goal?
He did.
That's awesome.
$855, $450 free.
And what were they giving out? Was it like gift cards or
That's usually what they do.
Okay.
So yeah, and it's not going to be too like
then you just sell the
Cabela's.
gift cards essentially on on eBay or
Yeah, you could do that.
Okay.
But that
Or go to local Bitcoins. I hear you can get Bitcoins for gift cards there.
Can you?
I heard you can.
That's pretty cool. You were asking about
kinda high
New
risk.
Zealand shooters. A story from Ammoland. Kiwis rushed to New Zealand gun shops in anticipation of new gun laws.
Ah, okay.
So there are a few, evidently some Kiwis out there.
Hey, let me give you a tip here, Kiwis. If there's going to be a new gun law coming down, don't rush to the gun store. You need to buy your guns from somebody privately so you're not on a list. Because if they're going to come
that
down
still means somebody's running to the gun store, but hopefully there are people buying them by the crate who
I
are
see what
going
you're
to
saying.
resell them.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
you
somebody's
don't want to be on that list.
Somebody's got to be buying them from gun dealers, and that's why the gun industry has been so carefully regulated, because in case of regulation, they have to be able to round those people up.
Somebody ought
Or
to
in case of revolution is the word I was looking for.
somebody ought to tell these Kiwis about the Ghost Gunner if they have not heard about this.
Right.
It is basically and I don't know if I'm the best person to even try describing it. I've been to the manufacturing facility for it.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like it's not a 3D printer. It's just like this machine that, I don't know if it's like a lathe or
It's like a milling machine,
machine.
that will take an 80% completed AR-15 lower and finish it all the way to 100%.
do it the rest
yeah.
for you, basically.
And under U.S. law, that is legal to do, and that does not require that lower has a serial number
Now,
on
I don't
it.
know if it's legal in New Zealand, but it might be worth looking at
It may be.
because they had some pretty badass weaponry in that facility.
Oh,
It was pretty sweet.
Yeah, and there's a real benefit, and it's not, folks, it's not about making a gun that can't be traced. In the event
That's
of
exactly
a crime,
what it's about.
well,
wait,
to
not,
me,
not
no.
for a crime. It's just
Not for
about
a
making a
crime.
gun that can't be traced.
The government has no business knowing what weapons you have and you
Right.
possess legally, and
Damn
these are
right.
legal guns.
Legal drunks.
Jesus. Free Talk Live.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 of our scheduled 3-hour performance. We do this every night, which is great. It's always a different set of hosts. It's always a different set of co-hosts, and that's what makes it interesting, and it's always different subjects. Of course, what's interesting about Free Talk Live to me is that it is an open phone show, which means you can change the subject anytime you like. All you have to do is call us at 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Or you can hit us up on Discord. You can find out more at discord.lrn.fm. And joining you in studio is myself, Chris.
I'm Ian.
Rich Paul.
And we've been discussing New Zealand and New Zealand's efforts. They've got some legislation in the channel right now to ban assault weapons, and we got a very vague description of what assault weapons are. To me, it just sounds like things that are semi-automatic and look scary, which is pretty much what all assault weapons bans are about. A gun I always love to talk about is the Ruger Mini 14. It's a great little gun. They make a ranch model. It will hold a high-capacity magazine. It will fire semi-automatically, but it looks like a hunting rifle.
Are we giving New Zealanders too little credit? I mean, is it possible that as we speak, there are people in New Zealand saying, this is why we've held on to our guns all of these years, because the government might become tyrannical. And we will know the government has become tyrannical when they come to take the guns. There's got to be somebody in New Zealand saying, Molen Labe.
Right.
Come and take them.
Right.
You know? And I would love to hear from any such people if you can, you know, if you exist in New Zealand.
And you happen to be listening to our show. If you are, please call in. Or anybody who's been to New Zealand. I just like to know a little bit more about the culture, because the only glimpses of New Zealand we get are either through documentaries about the filming of Lord of the Rings or something tragic like what happened down there with the mosque attacks, and that's really a shame.
NPR, by the way, does have an article, since you were asking about it. New Zealand gun owners react to possible new restrictions from government. Would you like to hear what
please.
They have to say? So you mentioned earlier, Rich, the estimated 1.2 million guns in the country. They cite that number, and they say that's the equivalent of one gun for every 4 people. Now, they say it looks like the government there is prepared to take swift action to restrict or possibly ban semi-automatic weapons in the wake of the worst shooting in the country's history. Rob Schmitz is the reporter who's there talking to people, and he says that owning a gun in New Zealand is a privilege, not a right. Now, what's the difference between a privilege and a right?
Privilege comes from privis legis in Latin, which means private law, and it's when the law treats one person differently from another. So if you have a driver's license, you have the privilege of driving. If you have a gun license, you have the privilege of owning a gun.
And a privilege is something you have to ask for, that is bestowed upon you by...
Yes, it's not yours by right.
Yeah.
Right.
A right is something you are born with that you retain throughout your life, whether or not you sell some weed.
For example.
For example.
Schmitz writes, "That's the last thing Thomas Jones tells me after he and a few friends jump in their truck after buying an AR-15 assault rifle from Gun City in Christchurch, the shop that sold Friday's alleged attacker some of his guns. Jones and his friends, all dressed in camouflage, are eager to go hunting with their new rifle, so they agree to an interview on the phone while they drive to the mountains. Jones says gun ownership isn't enshrined in the New Zealand Constitution like it is in the U.S.
Boo!
And gun enthusiasts like him don't have an organization like the NRA to represent them. By the way, the NRA is
also
like the worst.
Boo.
Like
Right.
the NRA is like the worst gun organization in the United States.
Yeah, Gun Owners of America is less compromising. You know, there are also specific gun rights groups like
level.
the Pink Ponies, which is LGBT. There's Black Guns Matter. There's the Huey Newton Gun Club.
And if you get
this
down,
is not just for white people. Everybody should be getting guns.
Right, and I will guarantee you there is a gun rights group in every state. Now, you threw out a statistic where there's one assault rifle for every 4 Kiwis.
Just 1.2 million guns, so it'd be one gun for every four people.
Right. Now, comparatively, the United States is about 1 to 1. There's
300 million, right?
Yeah, 300 million, and where our population is approximately 320 million last time I counted. We're going to hop to the phones, and we're going to talk to Sarah. Sarah, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yes, I just I was told that if you own a business, then even if you have a business loss, you could write it off. Most of the businesses. So what does that mean? That you never actually lose money because you get to write it off? How does that work?
Well, let me tell you.
It means that you don't have to pay taxes on the money you lost. You don't have it, you lost it.
You still lose
That's what
money.
lost means.
You're always
You seem a little lost on the meaning of lost.
If you write things off, there's different ways to write things off in a business, but one of the things that a lot of businesses do is they reinvest. So everybody loves to talk about Amazon, and they paid zero taxes with $18 billion in profits.
They were too busy making jobs.
Is that what they were doing? Well, a lot of what Amazon has done, and the key to their success over their lifetime has been to invest in new technology and invest in distribution systems and things like that. So it's not that they just had that money and they pocketed it. They took their profits and they reinvested back into the business so they can become even more evil to you. Does that help, Sarah?
Well, I wanted to know how that would work with apartment complex owners, because I want to know that whether they rent. What I'm saying is, I have a really loud music neighbor, and then they stay here playing music all day, all night, and they run everybody out. But that's the thing. Whether he rents to 3 people or 300 apartments, that's a tax write-off. He could care less, right?
It's so funny listening to you.
Is that how it works?
You really have no idea what business is about.
Oh,
I mean,
Wow.
she's never even had a job in her life, so I mean, it's understandable she wouldn't even be connected in any way, shape, or form to, the difficulties of running a business.
But in any case,
Thanks for the call.
Thank you for the call, Sarah.
Wow.
I mean, can you even explain what is there an answer to what it is she's even talking about?
No.
Okay.
And sometimes, and I enjoy speaking with.
It burns.
I enjoy
Stupid.
I enjoy talking to Sarah, but some Sarah calls are too Sarah for me. And
Well, I guess case Sarah, but good Lord.
Well, is it stupidity or just ignorance? I mean, it could be.
My God, though. Good Lord.
Yeah, I mean, I want to try my hand
moly.
at answering this as somebody who really doesn't know much about deductions and taxes and all that.
Or reality.
Right. Whether you're paying taxes or not, Sarah, if you lose money, it's lost. It doesn't come back magically from the tax man or something like that. You're failing as a business in that case.
You don't just get a check?
No, and that's why businesses go out of business. That's why when you look around, wherever it is that you live there in Albuquerque and you don't see the same businesses that you grew up with there, that's because those companies folded at some point. They couldn't make it work. They couldn't change with the times. They weren't able to keep things relevant. Woolworths, of course, great example, right? It's a company that was on top for a long time. It was working for decades for them, and then they went under. Interestingly, they're still in business in Mexico.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And those buildings get sold off and they get replaced by things that the consumer does want.
That's right.
That's the process that Joseph Schumpeter called creative destruction.
Creative destruction. Well, more on creative destruction, maybe. But we'll be talking about other things, too. 855-450-FREE.
Like drugs.
Like drugs. We are going to talk about drugs. But we're going to talk about more in just a few moments. Free Talk Live. This is Free Talk Live, 855-450-FREE. That's our toll-free number. That's 855-450-3733. And we've been talking kiwis and guns. Not the fruit.
Not the fruit.
Not the fruit, but the people of New Zealand who, whether they like it or not, their government is pushing legislation forward to ban assault weapons, and they gave a very loose description of what that is. That's usually how gun control works. They leave these things intentionally vague so they can grab every other gun that seems somehow related to what they are banning and making illegal in the first place. In studio tonight is Chris, Ian, and Rich Paul.
Hey, can I tell you about someplace you can carry guns?
Really?
It's ForkFest 2019.
That's a great one.
Coming up in about 3 months. It's going to be June 13th through the 18th at Rogers Campground, the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. And as long as you're not prohibited by law as far as like being a felon or whatever, you can carry guns at ForkFest. And even if you are a felon, as long as you aren't in front of any cops, you'll probably be all right. Because the crowd there is pretty reasonable when it comes to this kind of stuff. You go to forkfest.party, and that is where you'll find the unofficial Telegram chat room and ForkFest forum where you can connect with other people who are intending to attend and who have attended in the past as well. But one of the things that has always happened historically at Rogers Campground is libertarians who are hanging out there and the voluntarists and liberty-loving anarchists who are there at the event. A lot of them love to open carry, and New Hampshire is a place where open carry is legal. So, of course, it's also legal on this particular private property where the owner absolutely respects your right to bear arms, and many people do. So if you want to exercise that right, it's fun for people from like California who don't ever get to touch guns, basically, to come up here. And not only can they touch a gun, they can strap one on and walk around with it.
Walk around.
It's fun stuff. Forkfest.party, June 13th through the 18th. It's a decentralized libertarian camping festival, meaning that everybody is in control of themselves and their own campground, wherever it is that they're camping. As long as you got yourself a campsite, whether it be an RV or kind of like a rural tent site or even in the motel, you get to decide what to do while you're at ForkFest. You want to just hang out and camp with other like-minded freedom lovers? That's cool. Or maybe you want to create a thing for those other attendees to do. Maybe you want to put on a musical event or a speaker series or poker game or something like that. You decide what to do at ForkFest. But I would recommend if you're going to do something, communicate it to the others who might be attending in advance, because there may be people there who want to help you with it. And they may want to know about it as well. And again, you can connect with them on the chat room and the forum, which you'll find over at forkfest.party. So we were talking about, what are the responses from the gun owners in New Zealand? Now, of course, you don't want to go to NPR to get a real balanced viewpoint of things necessarily, but this was one of the stories that did come up when I looked for it. And they did go and interview some people that apparently were jumping in the back of a truck at a gun store in New Zealand. So they were at Gun City in Christchurch which is the shop that sold the alleged attackers some of his guns. They were getting ready to go hunting, all dressed up in camouflage, but they were, flagged down by this reporter, supposedly from NPR, and they agreed to do an interview by phone, where one of them, Thomas Jones, said that it's disappointing to have the government throw on us what one person did and punish 250,000 gun owners, at least just because of what one man's done. Another one, this is the reporter here, Rob Schmintz. He says 250,000 New Zealanders would have to give up their semi-automatic guns if the government bans them. For Jones, that would mean giving up 4 of his 12 guns. He says he uses these semi-automatic guns as part of his livelihood as he owns a hunting business. And the government sometimes hires him to cull feral goats, an invasive species that have run rampant in rural New Zealand, by shooting scores of them with an AR-15 from a helicopter.
Nice.
A gun ban, says Jones, would also mean giving up a way of life in New Zealand.
I want that job.
That would be fun, but we do that in the United States. There's a lot of people that we may have a mutual friend who's down in Texas, but he does feral hogs, and it's a problem. So he goes out and takes care of them for farmers and stuff like that. If you ban a semi-automatic weapon, then I guess they're saying that you can still use a single-shot weapon, which means that between every round, you have to load another bullet in manually before you depress the trigger and another bullet comes out.
Which, for animals, isn't that bad, but for resisting your government puts you at a significant disadvantage.
It does, or any other government. Even for animals, it's bad. So let's just say that you're being attacked by a bear. We have bears here.
Oh, my
in
God,
the
it's
United
coming
States.
right at us.
Hold on, bear. I need to reload. You can't do that. You need to fire as quickly as you possibly can.
Yeah.
So there's some real disappointing statements that are about to come out of the lips of these gun owners in New Zealand. One of them, this is Jones, says, quote, "We are not pro-gun. We're just Kiwis. It's just part of our heritage. We've shot since we were kids. If you don't shoot, at least somebody in your family does. You go to the hunting store and it's all built around hunting and outdoors, and you get your kids outside and stuff like that." The reporter then says, but in the wake of Friday's shooting that left 50 people dead, many gun owners say something needs to be done to prevent this from happening again.
Do something.
Robert Miller is one of them. This is, again, another alleged gun owner there in New Zealand who says, quote, "Well, to be honest, I think the more military-style semi-automatics should be banned. There's no need for them. Probably the same with pistols. To be honest, gun registration, I think we need it because there's no way of tracking a gun here if it's sold. Someone could sell one to a guy without a license.
Oh,
and then there's no
God,
record of it being sold."
What? To a guy without a license?
If you sell a gun to a guy without a license, that gun will go out and start shooting people by itself, won't it?
I think that's the implication.
Uh-oh.
And we have, the bulk of our audience is in the United States, and you guys, I'm sure people are sitting there going, well, New Zealand, yeah, that kind of thing. Laws exactly like this are working their way through Congress.
And
laws
New
like
Zealand
this are
is a
in front
rural
of
place. New Zealand is not a place where you expect to see a gun ban because this is tough country. This is there's a lot of farmers in New Zealand.
Very rural.
It's very rural. So it's even more frightening.
But there's there's got to be. This is one of the things we talked about in the last few days on the show. Was the attitude of people in New Zealand, given that they didn't grow up with freedom of speech.
Right.
They didn't grow up with freedom of, to bear arms. They didn't grow up with these concepts. They may have had guns growing up, but they didn't have the right to them. Right. And so they've always lived.
They did. The rights don't come from governments.
Okay.
But
let's say the rights weren't respected.
It wasn't taught to them. It wasn't like me going to a military academy and having a guy in uniform teach me that the reason for the Second Amendment is so that the people can shoot the government if it gets out of hand.
They definitely don't learn that over there. So we have to understand that from our perspective as liberty-loving people who were raised to some extent at least being around the right people, we came to these ideas through whatever means that we did. These ideas may not be presented regularly over there. Right. Again, there's censorship that these people have grown up with their entire lives. You can't have a Cradle of Filth T-shirt, we learned. Those were banned One of their tours was banned over there. Video games, books, movies. Many of these things have been censored and banned in New Zealand. It's just a different perspective.
More on that when we return. What do you think? Does it affect us? Of course it does.
Business owners. You want more customers? Accept cryptocurrencies. There's people all around you just waiting to spend money at your store. If only you would take it. I know, you've been waiting till someone else makes it easy. Well, good news. HelpMeTakeBitcoin.com adds Bitcoin to your point of sale. Totally free. Use the same equipment you already have, now with Bitcoin. And unlike credit cards, there's no fees. Let the guys at HelpMeTakeBitcoin.com bring new customers to your store. HelpMeTakeBitcoin.com.
This is Free Talk Live, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. You can also hit us up on Discord. You can find out how to do that at discord.lrn.fm. And we've been talking New Zealand. And sadly, we haven't been talking about the tragedy, the initial tragedy, which was shooting up of some mosques. 50 people dead, and by some white supremacists in New Zealand.
He was not a white supremacist, though.
Well, I'm going by headlines. So, what did he say? Did he?
He said that he wanted to set off a civil war in the United States.
He wanted a race war, I thought.
Part of
yeah.
I don't think it was a race war. Actually, I think his manifesto said that he wanted this. He thought the war in the United States was going to start over guns.
But then it would become a race war, I thought what the prediction was. But again, I didn't read the 74-page.
Right. The readings of the
ravings.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what it is. The guy was a lunatic. And it's troubling. It certainly is. And it's troubling when governments... let me rephrase that. It's troubling when people allow their governments to take away rights that we are born with, that are inherent to the human condition, like the right of self-defense. And that's all this gun debate is about, is do you have the right to defend yourself, your body? Do you own your body? Do you have that right? Is that inherent to you? And if it is, you should be able to use whatever means is necessary to defend yourself. We're going to turn to the phones and talk to Gia in California. Gia, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hi, guys. My name's Gia. I'm a young trans woman and a recent Antifa member, and I wanted to talk about New Zealand and transphobia real quickly.
Please. We've been looking for this all night long.
Yeah, so I might be in the minority with this, but, I honestly feel that gun control in this case, I used to be against it, but I feel that it's warranted because stopping white supremacy is just the utmost priority. So whatever we have to take away from Nazis and neo-fascists, it doesn't matter. We should take it.
And it doesn't bother you that means that the potential victims of these people won't have access to the to weapons to defend themselves. Because let me tell you the origin of gun control in America. Gun control came about by people like you, people who had a grudge against a particular race. You have a grudge against white people. Okay, I don't care about your grudge. They had a grudge against black people. Their grudge was wrong too. And the thing is, they wanted to form this organization called the Ku Klux Klan, and they wanted to kill black people. Okay? But the problem was that these black people had the right to keep and bear arms, and they weren't going softly into that dark night, but they were railing against the dying of the light. And so they formed militias, and they started to defend themselves. And the KKK said, we can't have these people defending themselves from us with guns. We outnumber them. So if we disarm everybody, then the majority has the majority of clubs and fists and rocks, and that's how the battle would be carried out. And the majority in a battle like that will win.
What say you, Gia?
Okay, well, maybe if the police weren't racist monsters to begin with, the thing is that less
maybe
guns
if the
makes
police
society
were racist monsters to begin with, it would be a good idea not to have them be the only people with firearms, you idiot. What is the matter with you? Have you lost your mind?
She's from California.
Rich Paul,
God.
you're a scumbag. No, Rich Paul is a scumbag, and I'm going to get to my second point right off the phone.
Your mother was a hamster, and your father smelt of elderberries.
All right. Your second point is
your mother was an elephant queen. Anyway, listen, you were objectifying.
Oh yes, he's triggered. He's triggered. Yes, let the hate flow through you. Let it flow. Does it feel good?
I'm a C. And we're against fascists like you, Rich Paul. You were objectifying
fascists that want everybody armed so they can defend themselves against a totalitarian government.
Gosh.
That is the key to fascism, you know.
And Rich Paul was staring at Aria. Okay, he was making her uncomfortable. He was objectifying.
You're referring to,
and if you think,
for listeners that don't know, Aria is the host of a different show, Call to Freedom. She's on before Free Talk Live on an internet network called LRN.FM. What about Rich staring at Aria? I mean, she's not bad looking for a trans.
Well, it was disgusting. At first it seemed all innocent, but every time evil white cis scum like you guys rape a trans woman or a person of color. Oh, you're laughing. You think it's funny. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm from a different generation, and I don't
You've
often
gone full SJW, my brother.
I don't get called evil cis scum very often. Gia, thank you for the call. There was so much to mine there. You know what I mean? There was so much, but we were all too wound up to dig for the nuggets that may or may not have been there in Gia's commentary.
Wow.
But we're going to change gears.
You're on a roll
bit
tonight, Rich. This is great. I'm enjoying the hell out of this.
Oh, groovy. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I'm in a good mood today.
Maybe you had some CBD?
Could be.
Did you?
There's a chance.
Well, you probably did because.
Well, I mean, I've smoked some weed, and weed's got CBD in it.
There's a good chance there's CBD in that.
And there's always varying portions. We're going to talk about how CVS, you recognize that? The drugstores that are on a lot of corners
There's
in America?
one right down here. Yep.
In 8 different states are going to begin selling CBD, but before we get to that...
Wait, was he suggesting that... Because I've heard people say that you're transphobic if you're not attracted to trans people. Is he now suggesting that I was attracted to Aria and that I'm therefore transphobic? Because that sounds like a no-win situation.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure you'll ever win in this.
I'm so confused.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sure Gia will call back.
Not tonight.
But
Only
CBD, cannabidiol, which is a one of the many components of marijuana, and in hemp.
This is a component that does not get you high.
Yeah, it doesn't. But what it does do for a lot of people, it helps with anxiety. It helps with a number of medical issues, and it hasn't really been regulated. And with the passage of the Farm Act, that horrendous piece of fluff that goes around D.C. every few years, one of the things they did was they legalized hemp, which is definitely pushed more hemp out there to be used for CBD uses. So while in North Texas a store was raided and $50,000 worth of CBD was taken by the police, we also have CVS on the same day coming out saying that they are going to begin selling this in a few stores.
Wow.
This is coming to us from Reason. The rapid social and commercial acceptance of marijuana and marijuana-related products continues apace, with America's largest pharmacy chain announcing it will begin carrying cannabidiol CBD oil.
That's huge. That's huge. I didn't realize they were the largest pharmacy chain. That's amazing.
Yeah, I always kind of picture Walgreens, but that's probably because there's more Walgreens around me.
Yeah.
Curaleaf Holdings, Inc. announced Wednesday that some of its CBD products would be sold at CVS stores in at least 8 states, MarketWatch reported Thursday. In a statement provided to MarketWatch, CVS said it was already selling CBD products in 8 states: Alabama, California, Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Maryland, and Tennessee. recreational marijuana is legal in California and Colorado, while medical marijuana is legal in Illinois and Maryland. The other 4 states have legalized CBD products that are low in tetrahydrocannabinol. That's THC. That's the stuff that does get you high.
When is the federal government going to finally ease up?
I don't know.
I mean, all this economic activity.
When we pry it from their cold, dead hands.
I think you're right on that one, Rich.
Can't happen soon enough.
855-450-FREE is our number if you'd like to call and join in.
Doesn't look like they'll be dying anytime soon, however.
Sadly, but we can still fight. This is Free Talk Live. This is Free Talk Live. Live tonight, like we always are. And we are free because we believe in freedom. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've been talking about New Zealand, and we were just starting to talk about CVS, that hometown brand, that what turns out to be the biggest pharmacy chain in the United States, beginning to sell CBD products in their stores in 8 different states, which we think is pretty good news. And the question Ian posed right before just a minute or two ago was, when is the government going to just ease up on everything cannabis? We're seeing all this economic activity in the legal markets, in the auxiliary markets, which I think CBD would be. You know what I mean? It's not pot. Well, it is one of the many chemicals that is in pot.
The thing is, they're going to let go. They're not going to let go of it. They're going to channel it into a cartelized market so that only the members of the club can profit from it. Mm-hmm. That's the point. It's a big club, as George Carlin said, and you're not in it.
Absolutely. We're going to go to the phones where we have Matthew listening on TuneIn. He's from Louisiana. Matthew, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Well, you had a caller earlier, the trans person, who was scared to death of the Nazis owning guns. Do you think this person is aware that the Nazis were the ones who banned guns before they started rounding up people?
Oh, there you go, Matthew, with your logic and details. For what it's worth, we do believe that Gia.
Actually, I got to correct you on one thing. No, it wasn't the Nazis who banned the guns. It was the Weimar Republic that came before the Nazis that banned the guns. So when the Nazis took office, they were already banned.
What they did, what the Weimar Republic did was they registered all the guns. So that when the Nazis took power, they knew where the guns were.
Okay, you may well be right on that. I'll withdraw my objection.
But the hard work was already done.
Well, the hard work was already done. They knew where the guns were. It's kind of interesting because in New Zealand, the prime minister there, the female body part who's in charge of the country, she banned all semi-automatic weapons, but before she was doing this, between the time of the morning after the shooting till today, everybody in New Zealand was buying up semi-autos. And I was like, I don't know what good this is going to do y'all, because
maybe they're going to fight.
Know who you are because the gun owners are registered in New Zealand.
Right. Mm. That's interesting. Hey, thanks for the call, Matthew. I appreciate it. And we're going to stay on the phones. We're going to flip over to Doug from Illinois. He's listening to us on TuneIn. Doug, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yeah, I pretty much want to comment on the lady that called earlier, too. Look, I don't like Cantwell. I remember him. I've tuned in to Free Talk Live for quite a long time. But I have heard him make the remark that, that we're not going to be able to all live together, pretty much being a country, that we no longer share anything in common. At the foundation of the country, it more had been individual liberty. high regard for private property, and we don't have anything to tie America together anymore. And I think that she can prove that point. You know what I mean? She would like I don't have an issue with her hating white men, but what she would like to do and Antifa would like to do would be they'd like to operate the government and pretty much beat the hell out of white men. You know what I mean?
Right.
Take away every right that we have, and that can be totally wrong. For the fact that me being a white man, I might not agree with her, but I don't want to take away every liberty from her. I don't want to take away her freedom. You know what I mean? For people that I don't agree with.
I understand what you're saying there. I
will fight to the death for her right to be an idiot.
To be fair, there has been some debate in studio as to whether she is playing a character, because I think this person actually calls in and plays other characters. I mean, we don't know.
Well, I mean,
or
I know that the person has multiple characters, but they could be a multiple personality disorder. I honestly don't know.
But there is some debate as to, I think, how serious she is.
You broke the fourth wall, bro.
Well, but regardless, we don't set up calls here. Okay, so we don't know. I mean, we just know this person as a caller. We don't know which personality is the true personality, or if any of them are, or whatever. So the reality is, the ideas that caller were presenting are not unfamiliar to many people in this country, and that caller did a good job of presenting those ideas from their perspective.
Whether it's parody or not, those ideas were floated out there. Anything else? Go ahead.
You hear like government continually talking about, like, you know, they were talking about where they were going to up in Washington about at Capitol Hill about like. They want to do, I don't know what the name would be, not a bill, but they want to do like a bill regarding hate. You know what I mean? And
don't they already have hate crimes?
I hate bills like that.
Right.
Yeah, we do.
Right, but they're not there to talk about hate. You know what I mean? They're not there to give their opinion on hate. Hate can be a thing that can vary from one individual to another. You know what I mean?
Whatever they says it is.
You should be allowed to keep your opinion, but until you hurt the liberty or you hurt another individual, you take away their freedom, their liberty, that can be going over the line. That can be what they're there for. They're there to protect individual liberty, not to give their definition of hate. And it can be like people like Antifa, they want to take over the government and they want to operate it like a bat and beat the hell out of white men and people that they don't agree with.
Well, and that's nothing new. We've had politicians that have been trying to tell people how they need to think, and part of that is telling them what they can say.
Right.
And
by the way, one more thing that I want to get out there real quick.
Shoot.
You know, if you people on the left and you Antifa people really, you know, want to push white men toward, you know, being radical, that can be the way to do it. For the fact that any group, whether it be brown people, white men, women, are not going to tolerate that forever. You know what I mean? They're not.
I agree. Thanks for the call, Doug.
Well, that's what the government does, and thank you for the call. The government does separate people. The government does turn them against one another, and it benefits from that. It benefits from people being angry at each other, and it wants those divisions to be there, so people will fight over control of the government, and the government is a weapon, and so Antifa trying to wrest control of it isn't any different than the religious right trying to wrest control of the government so they could shove their religion down somebody's throat.
Absolutely.
Socialism is just another religion.
That's true. We're going to stand
government's a religion, period.
Absolutely.
True. The most dangerous superstition, Larkin Rose calls
Great
it.
book.
Absolutely.
Actually, Larkin Rose says the most dangerous superstition is the belief in authority. That's what that book is about. Which, of course, leads to the state. But it's the whole idea that one person can have some sort of this fantasy concept of authority over other human beings, if indeed we are all born equal and with the same amount of rights.
Absolutely. We're going to stay on the phones. Brody from Utah, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, guys. Yeah,
Hey,
the reason I'm calling is I just want to talk about a pretty touchy subject, I think, for most people, and that's nutrition.
Touchy? Okay.
Not too touchy to me, but go ahead, please.
Yeah, so I've been researching nutrition for the last 10 years, trying to figure out what's causing the problems in America and around the world for disease and being overweight. I've struggled with my weight throughout my life, and I think I finally found the solution, and I just want to get the word out there. And my thoughts are the solution is called a book called The Starch Solution by Dr. John McDougall.
Okay, so why is this the solution when, a zillion other theories have been proffered, and some people say diet A works for them, but diet X doesn't work for them, while others say diet X works for them, but diet A doesn't work for them. Given that people seem to be different chemically in their bodily makeup, why is this the solution?
Well, I mean, from my studies, I mean, I tried the low-carb, keto kind of diet, and then that didn't really work out for me. I mean, I did lose weight, but I wasn't very healthy. I wasn't getting enough vegetable in my diet, and so I started doing other research.
How do you know when you don't get enough vegetable?
Yeah, I wasn't getting enough plants in my diet.
Just curious.
You can do the keto and probably get enough plants. I didn't like eating broccoli and cauliflower all the time.
I hear you.
So I ended up not eating that much in terms of plants. And so I started, thinking about, who around the world are the, seem to be really pretty skinny and in good health. And it just occurred to me, you look at Asians, they are. And I started researching what they eat, and they eat a diet very high in fiber.
That they do. Hey, Brody, thanks for the call.
I don't know if he ever got to his point, but okay.
I don't know either, but he needed more vegetables, so he ate them, which is great advice. Hour number 3 coming up.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, we can have a free market, a truly free market. Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live, joining you for hour number 3. We do 3 hours every night, 365 days a year. If you'd like to take part, please give us a call at 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Or you can hit us up on Twitch or on Discord. You can find our Twitch video channel at twitch.lrn.fm. And you can find our Discord links on discord.lrn.fm. And another thing,
I'll just take you right to the server.
It will. And you'll load a client and you'll do some stuff. Yep. And if you got a good internet connection and a good microphone, you will sound like you are right here in the studio.
We love it.
Discord. We love taking Discord calls. But I also want to tell you. I also want to tell you about our amplifier program, and AMP stands for Advertise, Market, and Promote. If you appreciate us putting the ideas of liberty into people's heads, we think that's a good thing, and we want to take a moment to thank Alistair, who is a gold amplifier. That means he's made a pledge to give us $10 to go towards advertising, marketing, and promoting the show. That really does a lot for us and helps us get on more radio stations, which means more people get to hear the message of liberty. We think that's a great thing. So again, thank you, Alistair, and we appreciate the hard work you do to make sure we keep this up. And it's been one of those nights where we're all over the board, which happens all the time on this show. We talked about New Zealand and New Zealand's shoot from the hip, no pun intended, attempt to implement gun control, which looks like they're moving forward on, banning semi-automatic weapons. We took a couple calls. We got briefly into a story about CVS actually selling CBD products in their stores.
They're getting ready to roll it out. That's cool.
They are indeed. And
jump
CBD
on the bandwagon.
Cannabidiol is one of those components that make up marijuana and hemp.
People swear by it, by the way. I don't know if you've ever met any of these people, but they swear by it for like pain relief and all kinds of stuff.
I am one of these people. When I went to work for Keith Murphy out in Manchester, I hadn't done, it was kick-ass, 12 hours a day, plus you're cutting yourself, you're burning yourself, you're bruising yourself.
You're in a kitchen.
And, I was working as a dishwasher in a kitchen, and
that could have described
a
whole bunch of really weird occupations.
Yeah, and I would go home, and I had a thing of CBD cream that I brought for my mother.
Right.
Because
you bought for your mother or brought from your mother?
I bought it for my mother. And unfortunately, my father is a pharmacist, and he was like, well, we don't know what the dosage is in that. We don't know what the numbers are. We don't know exactly what it is. So he didn't want her to use it. So I brought it home, and I put it on all my burns and my scrapes and cuts and bruises, and they healed much faster. My sore muscles healed faster. It helped with, I had pain in my lower back that I've had for years,
right.
And rubbing that CBD cream on that helped it go away. I've had shoulder pain for years. This stuff really worked wonders.
So it's interesting. I've never even brought this up, but I take terpenes, which is another form of way to get CBD into your system. That's a little bit more floral as opposed to just oils and things like that. But I've been doing this daily for about 2 months, and
So wait, it's oral? The terpenes?
Yeah, and most oils, you can get oils that are just drops. You take them sublingually,
under
put a little drop under your tongue. And I've been taking these for a couple months. It's definitely helped with my anxiety.
Really?
So I'm definitely more relaxed during the day. And
I hate anxiety.
I do too.
That stuff makes me nervous.
It makes me crazy. But it really does, and it also helps me sleep and some things like that. We're going to stay with the phones because we've got lots of calls. Dave from New Hampshire, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Hi, gentlemen. Have you guys already talked about Bob Hall?
I don't think.
That's a longtime libertarian activist here in New Hampshire who passed away recently. He actually was an early advertiser on Free Talk Live back before the Free State Project was officially a sponsor of the show. Bob Hull was buying advertising on Free Talk Live for the Free State Project.
Wow. I did not know that.
Yeah, the Free State Project wouldn't buy ads with us. He did.
Wow.
I had forgotten that. That's cool. He was also a state rep, at least for a while. He lived in Grafton. He wasn't young, but he wasn't ancient either. So it kind of took me by surprise. That I just wanted to make sure that he was not forgotten in his passing.
No, I just found out about his passing today, and I was really sad. He was a good guy.
Not somebody I knew personally, but definitely had a legacy out there, and a lot of people are talking about it on social media. What else you got, Dave?
Well, it's interesting that for the uninitiated, Grafton is of a specific geographic importance in New Hampshire, even more so than the state itself, because it's considered sort of the freest town in New Hampshire, and there's been a thing called the Free Town Project, which has been moving people to Grafton.
I thought the first rule of the Free Town Project was you didn't talk about the Free Town Project.
Well, I'm
not in the Free Town Project, so I don't have to pay attention to their rules.
Oh, okay,
That's
groovy.
Spirit.
Although I did actually live in Grafton for a while, so technically I'm sort of a free towner.
Yeah, me too.
I swear to God, anybody who's been in New Hampshire for a long time, and a lot of people moved here as part of a liberty-focused migration, a whole lot of them seem to have ended up in Grafton at some point or another, or definitely have friends there. Dave, thank you so much for the call. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I went out to Grafton because the guy wanted people removed from his land, and he wasn't a cop caller, so I went out and along with some other people, and we removed them from the land, and eventually they were convinced that they really didn't want to come back.
Cleared the land.
The longer we're here in New Hampshire as part of this movement, the more of us are going to end up dying here. So it's sad, but he's not the first person who's moved here, who's made an impact on people's lives, who's passed away, unfortunately. We've been here for more than a decade now. I think Dave Ridley actually moved back in like 2004 or 2005. So some of us been here for more than well over a decade, and there's definitely been more than a handful of people who've passed away either through circumstances natural or accidental. I can think of another guy who was not a state rep, but a town councilor in this area who ended up dying, unfortunately, in a car wreck that happened. He was driving a dump truck and may have had some kind of a heart failure, ended up careening off the road and dying in a horrible wreck.
That was truly sad.
Maybe he died before the wreck. I don't know what the autopsy showed, but Then there was another guy who got pinned underneath a giant boulder in his backyard. He was working on, I don't know what he was doing next to it, but somehow got pinned by it, and nobody was around to help him. So he died there.
It is sad.
Another guy burned to death in his own church up in Grafton as well, John Cannell.
That was within the last just year or two.
A few years ago, maybe now, 2 or 3 or something like that. He was a real big influence on me, John Cannell's avocation for forgiveness and his adherence to practicing it was, hard to match. He was a real inspiration.
A good man.
I've heard that from a lot of people. And again, these things are always sad, but
the good news is the Liberty people are having babies too, but that's not as noteworthy.
It isn't. But it also sort of makes it more real. I don't want to say that in a flippant way, but a lot of people moved here because they believed they uprooted their entire lives to live in a place that they could help try to make more free. And that's a powerful message. 855-450-FREE.
I plan to die here.
Do you? I do too. I've already dug the hole. It's in my backyard because you can do that in New Hampshire. This is Free Talk Live. This is Free Talk Live. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Or you can hit us up on Discord. Load a client on your phone or your laptop. Use your microphone and your high-speed internet connection, and you'll sound like you're in the studio with us. You can find links to that at discord.lrn.fm. So we've been talking about New Zealand. We've been talking about CBD oil being for sale in CVS, or I should say CBD products. Cannabidiol is one of the many components or compounds that are found in marijuana and found in hemp, and it's by de facto been legalized by the Farm Bill, which allowed for hemp production, and some states have actually gone ahead and passed laws allowing legal CBD, or I guess just removing any doubt as to whether it is legal or not. We're going to go to the phone.
Go to that top caller there.
Go to that top one.
Yeah.
Stoney calling in from Virginia. He's listening on TuneIn. Stoney, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hello, Stoney.
Stoney, are you there?
Maybe we got too stoned. Or maybe we got disconnected. I don't know. No, we're still connected.
Stoney, you there? I'm going to put him on hold, and we'll try him again in just a moment.
Pressing it twice actually locks the call in, so you want to press that again and then press the hold button.
There we go, and hit the other hold button. Dave from New Mexico also listening on TuneIn. Dave, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, yeah, let them eat lobster. The reason this should matter to anybody listening, if anybody out there pays any federal income tax, New Mexico was just rated number one in the nation for the amount of federal tax dollars they receive out of the 50 states. And I collect these stats as I hear them, and that equates to 30-some% of New Mexico's public spending. 30-some%, like a third of New Mexico's public spending, comes from federal tax dollars from everybody, from all the other 49 states.
Don't you wish they just wrote you a check for that money
instead of taking it from me and giving it to you?
I would like that. The newly elected governor, one of the stats there, or several of the stats, she just raised her governor's office budget 30-some%, like 32 to 38%, somewhere in there, increasing it. I forget what the actual number is. It's now $72,000 a year. Remember, this is a small state. The state's budget is $7 billion a year, and it's many times that in larger states, larger population states. But some of that money she spent the day after her inauguration. She took all of her staff and family and friends and spent $3,600 on a brunch the day after the inauguration.
Was this taxpayer dollars?
Yeah. This is from the $72,000 annual party fund.
Sweet.
You
could throw a hell of a party for $72,000.
Yeah. Well, theoretically, it's used to entertain dignitaries from outside the state in order to wine them, dine them, try to get their.
Why do these people need to be wined and dined?
They're dignitaries.
They're politicians and. They're politicians, and they've been doing it forever. They tax the people and spend it on themselves. That's how it works.
Hey, just to be fair, and to add a little bit of perspective, most states budget in a use it or lose it fashion, like our federal government does. If X number of dollars are budgeted, you've got to spend all your dollars. Otherwise, you're not going to get the same amount next year.
So if you have a party fund, you have to spend all the money in the party fund.
Which is why the Department of Defense spent $4.6 million on crab and lobster and a $9,000 chair in the last-minute spending spree. I'm wondering what a $9,000 chair feels.
I bet it's pretty
Ian,
sweet.
if you could get me one in here for next Thursday night, I would really appreciate that.
I'll get right on it.
Thank you.
Well, her spending did also include some. She went to a tin shop that sells tin ornamental stuff, craft stuff, and bought $700 worth of various things like soap dishes and such like that for whichever purpose. And
to hold your soap,
and lobster. Somebody went to the grocery store. They went to Whole Foods, it was Sprouts, and they got the $100 worth of groceries that included 4 lobster tails.
Maybe it was a door prize.
Tells you that pardon?
A door prize. We had a big event, so we're going to have a door prize. We're going to take you grocery shopping.
There you go. So somebody had a dinner. Obviously, if you buy 4 lobster tails, there must have been a dinner for 4 people. And so I can't imagine what that would have been, but it sounds like something private and buying lobster with the taxpayers' money. But anyway, also
it's good to be in the gang, isn't it?
Right.
It is. When you guys buy gasoline, any kind of fossil fuel, liquid fossil fuel, once again, New Mexico has been number 3 producer state in the U.S. for quite a while, and they're about to edge out North Dakota and be number 2. And New Mexico takes approximately 20% surcharge right off the top of crude and oil and gas that comes out of the ground. And so then that goes to the refinery, and then you buy it to put in your car all over America. And so whatever your price at the pump is bumped up approximately 10%, probably based on the taxes that New Mexico's taken off of that. So that's another way New Mexico is taking your money all over.
I will say, in a sense, good for New Mexico because they're getting more money from D.C. than they are sending to D.C., and that is
when you
really
say they,
rare.
you mean the state government. The people don't see that unless they're welfare queens.
Well, unless you're getting the only thing you can do is say that you're getting some of the money back that was stolen from you.
But you're not if the checks are being written to the government, unless you are in the government, and you're probably not.
Well, the thing is, mathematically, the way it works out is anybody has a right to take welfare because government takes from each of us our priceless liberty and owes to each of us an infinite debt. So anything that you can pry out of government is yours by right.
Right. But to Ian's point,
don't give money to government because that is bad.
Yeah, I'm not saying you're wrong. Hold on. I'm not saying you're wrong if you're taking welfare from the government as a libertarian. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with that. I don't want to do it personally because, then they just get more invasive in your life.
Right.
But ultimately, I agree with you, Rich. If you want to milk them for whatever you can get out of them, I say God bless you. But, when you talk about the states getting money from the federal government, it's the states. It's not like it's raining in the streets.
Right.
Cash is coming down. You just grab as much as you can.
What I could say is that
then also go ahead.
No, I was just going to say one could say that in some examples that you are offsetting costs that would have been taxed again if the state had not got more money back from the federal government. It would be convoluted. It would absolutely be probably impossible to determine what that is. But if a state costs $100 million to run their schools and they're going to raise all that through taxation, I would rather see them get the money back from the federal government and not tax me yet again, which is what their natural reaction is going to be.
And this is why I like the MGI better. So even normal people get a cut of that money.
Exactly.
MGI?
We'll talk about that when we return. 855-450 free. This is Free Talk Live.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. That's our toll-free number. If you would like to take a role of caller in our show, we'd love to have you. We'd love to hear what's on your mind. And we talk about things, but that doesn't mean you have to talk about the same thing we're talking about. You can change the show. You can call in about anything you like, and we would love to hear from you. We have been talking about CBD, cannabidiol, one of those compounds that's found in marijuana, and it's found in hemp, and it has a lot of people excited. A lot of people, myself included, find some health benefit from taking it. And Rich, you were talking about how it helped you. You used a cream to deal with some burns and some aches and pains.
Yeah, burns, aches,
great.
pains, scrapes, just about anything.
And a number of states have specifically legalized CBD products. Sadly, Texas is not one of them. I was briefly touched on a story, maybe we'll cover it on another night, where they have just raided a company. The Texas police have raided a company and seized $50,000 worth of CBD products because of the war on CBD, which I really don't get. Keep in mind, folks, CBD does not get you high. You don't feel anything other than maybe some relief after taking it. The parts of
also keep in mind, it's none of your damn business what I feel.
Thank you, Rich. We've been reading from an article from Reason Magazine, and it talked to, like I said, that's kind of where we're at so far. The federal government's excruciatingly slow acceptance of CBD means that only one product, the anti-seizure drug Epidiolex, has received FDA approval. Other CBD products made from marijuana remain illegal under federal law, while CBD products made from hemp now reside in a legal gray area after the 2018 Farm Bill saw hemp decriminalized at the federal level.
Well, I know they're being sold in Keene at the little corner shop that takes cryptocurrency. They've got CBD products there.
The one that blew me away was in the very, very small New Hampshire town I live in, has a very small little general store where you can run down and pick up a loaf of bread or a bottle of wine or some fresh cut meat.
Yep.
And CBD products at the front register.
Awesome.
And that is really cool. Another thing I saw here in Keene, New Hampshire today, driving around was a big sign outside of another convenience store that says, "We sell kratom."
Really?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I see that in a lot of convenience stores.
I haven't seen it on a big sign alongside the road.
That's amazing.
I've never taken this stuff. I've got some of it. I've just had it sitting around. I've
intrigued in
never
trying
gotten
that
around to
for pain and things like that.
Yeah, people really like
ahead.
CBD. People rave about kratom, and not because it gets you high. In theory, it could, but it also is very apparently effective for people. So whatever ails them.
By next Thursday, maybe I'll have my my kratom report and see how that works for me.
I believe it's in pill form, like
I've
gel
seen it
caps or
that way.
something,
I've
right?
seen it in gel caps.
I've got it in gel caps.
I've seen it like a loose leaf tea. I think a lot of people drink it like a tea too. So
that sounds right.
Hey, I'm a rookie, so I don't know what the heck. I'll find out all there is to know about kratom by next week. The idea.
Fill me in. We'll do a kratom tasting part.
There we go. Those reasons Mike Riggs explored in a February feature. There's still a raging debate over the medicinal value of CBD, even though most states have realized that there's nothing dangerous
what's
about
the
letting
debate?
people use
who's
it.
debating? What's the other side?
Let me read his quote. The idea that CBD is a vitamin or should be treated like one is an increasingly popular argument among cannabis reform advocates. Armentano and Cott both mentioned in interviews as perhaps the ideal way forward. The FDA could require marketers of cannabis products to undergo facility inspections, and it could enforce strict labeling requirements as it does with nutritional supplements. But it wouldn't require cannabis products to undergo extensive clinical trials as it does now.
If it were classified as a vitamin?
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting where that all follows out. That little article continues. Treating CBD products like nutritional supplements would, of course, require the FDA to cede some of its power.
Oh, that's not going to happen.
The agency can entirely prevent a pharmaceutical drug from going to market because pharmaceuticals are expensive to make, and their value is explicitly
part of the
tied
reason a pharmaceutical is
FDA
expensive.
approval.
Part of the reason pharmaceuticals are expensive to make is because of the FDA.
It's all about the FDA.
Yeah, and the billions of dollars you have to spend to get through their process.
Yeah, and it's
if you
again,
get through.
Other countries. You want to know why other drugs are less expensive overseas and in other countries? It's because they do not have the FDA. By comparison, nutritional supplements are cheaper to make and don't require FDA approval before going to market. Nutritional supplement companies are like the turtles in a Mario Brothers game. The FDA can and does bop them, but the ratio of regulators to regulatees favors the latter. So, yeah, it is kind of interesting. This story continues. That sort of regulation sounds far better than the type of overzealous enforcement that was on full display earlier this week in Duncanville, Texas, when armed police officers raided 2 stores and seized more than $50,000 in CBD products.
Now, wait, were these state cops?
State cops,
okay.
according to local news reports.
Texas is, of course, one of the worst states as far as cannabis reform is concerned. They basically have done nothing, from what I understand.
Yeah. Duncanville police say they have removed, quote, hundreds of pounds of CBD products, unquote.
Oh, those heroes.
From 2 stores. Not all heroes wear capes, Ian.
Do they even know what they're doing? Do they even have any idea what CBD is and that you can't get high off of it? I can tell you that not everybody does know this. I've got another story here. And just
the thing is, they don't care, I don't think, if you're getting high. What they care about is that if you're buying something that works, you're not buying their crap.
The police aren't selling the crap, though.
No,
they're just enforcing.
But who controls the government? The government is controlled by industry. Okay?
You're saying they're doing the bidding of the pharmaceutical industry?
Exactly. They're doing the bidding of the pharmaceutical industry. Every one of the illegal drugs, or just about every one of the illegal drugs, and the big one I can think of that doesn't have any legitimate use is cocaine, because cocaine is just a drug that makes you want to do cocaine.
No. They used to numb people with cocaine.
Yeah, they use it for dental work. That's
ear, nose,
true.
and throat guys. Those
that's
guys
true.
still prescribe it. Not prescribe it, but they'll use it during procedures.
But all of the other all of the drugs, then let's just go to all of them, have some purpose for which they're very, very good.
I agree.
And for which Big Pharma will sell you an expensive substitute.
Right.
But Big Pharma doesn't have a patent on heroin as a painkiller, so heroin's going to be cheaper than oxycodone, and that's why you can't have heroin.
Well, there's some other things. Well, don't forget about the fact that we have to disenfranchise black voters. That was another key aspect of making heroin right, and that's not me saying that. That was I think H.R. Haldeman or John Ehrlichman talking about discussions.
John Ehrlichman when he got out of prison.
Yeah, talking about that in conversations with Nixon before he ramped up the war on drugs. But that's the thing. I mean, we recognize, at least we in this room, I think, recognize that the United States is not a constitutional republic; it's an oligarchy, which means that government itself is controlled by a very small number of people.
I would argue that a constitutional republic is still a variety of oligarchy because it's still controlled by a very few people.
That's an interesting way to put it.
There's no good way to force your will on unconsenting others. There's no moral way to do that. No, it just doesn't work. Just like there's no moral way to rape. It doesn't exist.
I hear you. And we're going to discuss that. What do you think? 855-450-FREE. We'll be talking about that. Maybe we'll talk a little bit more about CBD. This is Free Talk Live. This is Free Talk Live. Minutes left in our show tonight, but that doesn't mean you can't call in and get on the air. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. And we've been discussing CBD and a couple different aspects of that. First of all, the good news, CVS, yes, that CVS is going to begin selling CBD products in their stores in at least 8 states to begin with. Plans to go bigger than that once that ramps up. And on the downside, a bunch of idiots in Texas police officers in Duncanville.
But you repeat yourself.
I know that. Officers in Duncanville, Texas, raided a couple convenience stores and seized CBD. When asked why they seized the CBD, they said, because that's marijuana.
No, it's
Swine.
not. No, it's not.
No, it's not. It is.
I hope they got him on the record, too, saying that, because that might be useful in court.
We're going to follow that story because I really hope these guys get shown for the idiots that they truly are.
And again, it is Texas, so I don't know if they'll succeed.
Well, you never know. And that's not disparaging the good people of Texas, but I'm going to disparage a whole lot of your police.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad police stories that come out of Texas.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so Ian, you had something that you wanted to touch on?
Well, since we've been talking about CBD, I saw in the news the other day the news that the Jelly Belly founder is now manufacturing CBD-infused jelly beans.
I would eat those all day long.
Well, no, you wouldn't necessarily, because apparently they're might be a little pricey per bean.
Oh, come on.
They're saying here some vendors have been selling these CBD jelly beans for $2 each.
Do they list a dosage or anything?
Yeah,
I know a little bit about those.
10 milligrams of CBD.
Oh, my God, that's low.
So that's a high price then is what you're saying. $2
really high. So if you look at like some of the name brand CBD oils or things like that, usually the dosage, and this is sort of like for a day, is somewhere around 100 to 350 milligrams.
I've seen them up
CBD.
to 1,000.
I believe that.
And you said that's oil? What was that product?
Terpenes, which is it's what gives plants like marijuana their smell. So they're very aromatic. When they taste better to me when I put it under my tongue.
This is the sublingual
type.
Okay,
stuff.
so wait, so the full bottle or whatever is 100 something?
No. It's in an eyedropper, so you
drop.
measure out 100 milligrams worth, and you place 100 milligrams underneath your tongue.
So it's 100 milligrams per milliliter?
Something like that. It depends on the strength, and some of them you'll have your directions on your...
How many doses per bottle do you get?
I've never really noticed. I just sort of use them until I'm out.
How much does one bottle cost?
If it's 100 milligrams, and this is Keene, New Hampshire prices, somewhere around $30, and that lasts for a good long time. If you get a higher concentration, then the price is going to be higher.
Just to be clear, 100 milligrams is
per dose.
That's per dose, so there's multiple doses in the bottle. You're just not sure how many of them.
Right. I've never really paid attention.
So these are way more expensive at $2 per.
Yeah, I'm just doing the math going, this is really crazy high.
Well, it may be...
I hope they're delicious.
It may also be because they are in high demand. So according to the story here, and by the way, I'd like to let listeners know this story is terribly researched by ABC News, and I had to double check just to make sure this was an actual news site. It's actually from Tampa Bay, WFTS, ABC Action News. Here you go. Jelly bean aficionados will now be able to get high with something stronger than a sugar rush. What's
ABC.
wrong in that?
It doesn't get you high.
That's not how any of this works.
CBD does not get you high.
Yeah.
You feel no different after you take it.
Right. So we're in sentence number 1 here.
Unless you were in pain.
That's true.
So now we know how badly they've screwed this article up in the first sentence. Here's more. The creator of the most recognized brands, or one of the most recognized brands of jelly beans, has debuted a line of cannabis-infused sweets for candy lovers to enjoy.
Stop. Cannabis-infused?
Well, hemp is the cannabis plant.
Right.
Well, it comes from cannabis.
It's still
okay. So it is infused with parts of cannabis, not necessarily all the parts of cannabis.
It's a misleading.
THC isn't all the parts of cannabis either.
Right.
And we infuse things with that.
Yeah, it's a misleading statement at best, I would say. Last month, Candyman David Klein, responsible for the creation of Jelly Belly jelly beans in 1976, announced the founding of his new company, Spectrum Confections, that will offer, get this is this got to be the best line, that will offer the psychedelic treats in 38 flavors.
Oh, my God. I'm going to trip off CBD?
Wow.
What?
Well, if nothing else, he's got it. If he could always give up the jelly bean business and spend his money on defamation suits.
My God. For listeners that aren't clear, if it's just CBD and it doesn't get you high, you cannot call it psychedelic. Unless you're going to say the color, the variety of colors in the candies are psychedelic or something like that.
Right.
I mean,
it's absurd.
Yeah, I mean, if you call a tail a leg, how many legs does a dog have?
The company tests each recipe to ensure the correct amount of cannabidiol, or CBD, is added to each bean. According to their website, every bean is infused with 10 milligrams of CBD, and Spectrum Confections doesn't process CBD with a higher content than 0.3%. I don't know what that means.
I don't think that even makes sense. Usually when I see these kinds of sentences, they're saying we're doing CBD, but we're going to ensure that there is not a THC content that's higher than something like 0.1. In other words, you're not going to get high off of it. So who knows with this article? Who knows? Okay, please continue.
This is weird. Customers 18 and older must provide their own CBD. Along with a lab report, so the company can make sure they're, quote, compliant with laws in handling your product, unquote. So you have to
Now I understand the architecture of the $2 jelly bean.
Now it makes sense.
Why it's so expensive, you mean?
Oh, my God.
So they're doing special orders for people, is what it sounds like. But then they're saying
can customers under 18 get it without bringing their own CBD?
Well, and then it says here some vendors have been selling the beans for about $2 each. So I don't get it. If they're taking special orders from customers that have to provide their own CBD, why are vendors selling it? It's confusing. This is a poorly written article, but if it's true that there are CBD jelly beans, that's kind of cool.
It is.
Is there a byline on that article? What's his name?
The author, you mean?
Yeah.
No, we're going to go back to the phones.
Just ABC News.
We got Bill calling in from Texas, wants to talk about CBD. He's listening to 1340 AM. Bill, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hi, yeah, I live near El Paso in a small town, Sierra Blanca.
Welcome.
And I was listening to your comments about CBD and the arrest of or confiscation of $50,000 worth. And that puzzles me because all over El Paso you can buy CBD oil at all the different vape shops. It's everywhere. I don't understand.
Are you familiar with Duncanville?
Duncanville, I know where it is. That's in East Texas.
Yeah. So we were reading some quotes from the Duncanville police who said, they were asked why they did this, and they said, because that's marijuana. So it sounds like it sounds very localized, but it's always troubling when we hear these things. Go ahead.
So it wasn't the Department of Public Safety, the Texas DPS. It wasn't them that did it.
No, it looks like it was the statement that I read was from the
state police.
No, it was from the Duncanville
local PD.
Police, local PD. They're the ones that are keeping you safe.
This could just be a political targeting then. If what you're saying is that there are other stores that you're familiar with that are carrying this product, it could very well be that they piss somebody off within the police department, or somebody at the some competitor has a friend who's in the government and they use them against their competitor, perhaps. It wouldn't be unheard of for that to happen.
That's right. Well, I don't know, but maybe I know I'm hearing it's legal in Texas because my girlfriend just bought some there in El Paso, and they told us it's the different stores all over. So
that's good to know.
Yeah.
Where that's coming from.
I'm of the opinion we
laughing out loud that it was Beto O'Rourke, who I know is a big proponent of legalizing marijuana.
It's kind of hard to hear you. I don't know if you're on a speakerphone or something.
But I don't think that has anything to do with it. I think, from what I've heard, that it's legal CBD oil in Texas. But I was just really amazed.
For our listeners, Bill is not an attorney. Do not take legal advice.
Confiscated their product here in Texas when our legislature.
Yeah. Bill, thanks for the call, man.
Yeah,
kind of
I do
janky phone
appreciate
line.
it. Yeah, it's kind of off and on there, but I do appreciate the call. And that's all the time we have tonight on Free Talk Live. Please join us again tomorrow night. We'll be on for 3 hours like we always are, 7 p to 10 p Eastern. Thank you for joining us. This is Free Talk Live.
This is another edition of the Edgington Post Show coming to you from the North American Bitcoin Conference. It's Mark Edge reporting for Free Talk Live. I got Alex Prohorov from Well, the Well Network. Help me out with this. I know the word well is involved here, Alex.
Just remember, joinwell.com.
Joinwell.com. Great. And you've got an interesting idea I spent a little time talking to you about here. You know, you're vetted. I believe this is cool. Tell my audience what you got.
Yeah, we help you get recognized for your everyday wellness activities, and we bring blockchain to help you get rewarded. So effectively, you start mine coin simply just by walking. Download our app.
I mine coin by walking.
Mine coin by walking.
All right. Tell me how I do that.
Well, the first thing you do is you go to your app store on your phone, and you search for Join Well. Just like joinwell.com, put Join Well, find our app, download it, answer a few simple questions, and immediately you will notice that you've earned some coin because you've already been walking and your pedometer in your phone has been keeping track of it.
Okay.
And the more you walk, the more coin you generate.
I guess that's sort of a pedometer app that uses, somehow uses your walking to mine coins. Is that the concept here?
Correct. That's exactly right.
So tell me why in the world you're going to give me coin for walking.
Because walking has economic benefit.
Okay.
We think it feels
what is
good.
That? Well, I walk all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody's throwing any money at me. I'm creating energy, like a kind of kinetic energy. I'll give you that. Energy's worth something, but nobody's harnessing it.
Exactly. Well, the fact of the matter is, if you walk a certain amount of steps per day, you get your heart rate going, you feel better. It's a great activity.
Sure. I mean, it's really good for you. You're going to live longer if you walk more, right?
And living longer, which means you will have a chance to earn more money, you'll have a chance to pay more taxes, you will have a chance to spend more money.
Yep. Okay.
And there's a lot of brands that love people who spend money.
Right. I would think that like Nestle's and General Mills Foods, maybe they're the same thing. I don't even know. They are. I'm just thinking. There's breakfast cereals. There's those bars. There's everything out there.
Everything out there. Brands want to reach consumers, and every day they spend billions of dollars on Google and Facebook and the likes to reach those consumers.
Right, and they have profiles too. They know, like, if I prefer gray shoes over black tennis shoes, then I'm a certain kind of person, and they know things about me. If I walk, they definitely know things about me already. If I'm willing to put a fitness app on my phone, that they know stuff.
Exactly.
I don't know what, but something.
Something. Yeah. Well, one of the things that we tend to know, that tends to happen is that if you care about your body, you care about how you look, and you care about the health of your body, you tend to be a happier, more productive person. And with that comes an opportunity to have greater savings, greater earning potential, and that's a very valuable thing for a lot of businesses that want to reach you. And what we're saying is, well, if you want to reach these folks, you have to give them something. You have to pay them. And blockchain allows them. So unlike a Facebook that effectively takes money from advertisers and doesn't share anything with them, we allow a mechanism where we want to give those rewards back to you for that behavior.
Okay, so the rewards come to me. And then I've seen situations online, like even social media platforms, where they give you some kind of currency just for looking at stuff. Here you're giving me currency for walking.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
That's kind of cool, and it's something I'm going to do anyway. Tell me something about these the sorts of people that are downloading this app. I mean, anybody can go do it, right?
Correct. And the thing is, if you happen to have a phone that doesn't have a pedometer in it, maybe an older model or something like that, then you can go on our website, shop at Join, or just go to joinwell.com, and you'll be able to purchase a device that looks like a Fitbit.
It looks like a Fitbit. Yeah.
But much cheaper, under $50. We'll deliver it to you, and you can actually see it all the time. So if your phone is on your desk, if you forgot to, one thing I will say, you have to keep the app open in order for the pedometer to sync with the app and with the blockchain. But otherwise, buy the device, get a much better insight into how you sleep.
Mm-hmm. So it tells you your sleep too.
So it monitors your deep sleep, exactly.
Okay. Your phone's not going to do that. The device will.
The device will, exactly.
Okay. So I'm kind of curious here when you're talking about these brands and those sorts of things. Some people that walk are going to be more valuable to these brands than others. Can you tell me, what sort of things they're looking for? And I'm just kind of curious about the whole thing. It seems like somebody would, try to put it on several phones. I don't even know.
This is available for all people. Our app is in 7 languages.
Okay.
It's available in all countries, not just the U.S. There's always a way to game a system. There's a way to hack into Pentagon if you're really, and hack your Citibank if you're really after it. If you want to break something, you can always break it.
Yep.
That's not what it's for. We're going to have some AI and some analytics that show if you're walking 5-10 miles from 2 a.m. In the morning to 9 a.m., chances are you're trying to hack. Or if your regular pattern is 3,000, but all of a sudden you have 50,000 steps in there.
I can't imagine anybody could possibly walk 50,000, but I'll bet you that if you they could game it,
if you're gaming, we're going to come to step it. But
the rewards aren't going to be so high that anybody's going to be dying to beat this system.
Correct. Yeah, this is just a simple way to say thank you, great job, ability for you and your partner, your spouse, to track each other, have a little gamification and compete and see how many
people are buying these things already. They're buying Fitbits, they're downloading apps, they're using all these things. This basically just does that and gives you a little spiff back and puts you in contact with brands that in all likelihood are things that you're going to be interested in.
That's right. And that's what we want to do. We want to know what you're when you download the app, we ask you, what are the areas of your interest?
Yeah.
So we want to hit you up with the things that you care about. And we want to connect you to the brands that are in your interest category, and they want to find a consumer like you.
So you said that it's in all countries. How? What kind of marketing are you doing globally? I mean, I've just met you here in Miami, so I know I can do it here. I just downloaded the app.
Right. Yeah. So, for instance, we have a bunch of users in Korea, and these users came to us and they said, "We'd love to find a well device." So We're doing a shipment and we're introducing an e-commerce platform thanks to them because they wanted a well device. We've got a bunch of users in Europe. What's also different about us is there's a lot of there's some apps out there, and we also have a web-based platform that you can actually log in at health.joinwell.com, use the same credential as your app, and you will see that stored in the cloud. You can share with your physician.
You can say, hey, look, I'm really walking, doc.
You're walking, doc. And then you can also, you will also find in our app over 300 different models of glucose monitors, weight scales, blood pressure monitors. So different devices that
How does it get my glucose? Or do I have to?
You have to have a by device. There's a Bluetooth connection that we already have integration. There's about 300 models, as I said.
Okay.
So you can actually integrate that, and that will feed into the app and into the cloud. And if you want to share with a physician, go ahead. If you want to export it, download it on a computer, and share the file, great.
I see. So this platform so robust that can handle other information from other devices and these sorts of things.
Correct.
And that's going to integrate into your sleep patterns, your walking, and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
It's
if you have a mom, for instance, you have older parents.
I have a mom, yes.
Parents who love to monitor their blood pressure.
Yep.
Right now they're kind of.
I should be, but I'm not doing it.
Right. But the older you get, millions of Americans are on devices, on medication that help lower their blood pressure.
Yep.
And they measure that pressure. Well, and we have our smartwatch that we're introducing. Helps you to monitor it. If you want to get more precise, you can buy a medical grade device through one of our partners, and that syncs to the app, and you'll have that data. You can see the patterns as the medication is working. Oh, hey, guess what? I start walking more, earning more coins. I start eating healthy, and my blood pressure goes down. I start eating less sugar. I have to get off I can get off my medication. You just saved yourself and insurance some money, and they will reward you for it.
Alex, tell me how people can find out more, how they can get involved. I know it's the app is JoinWell.
The app is JoinWell. The website is joinwell.com. The Telegram channel is JoinWell. Find our Telegram. Join our community. Yeah. 10,000 people, and we're excited to welcome you into our community.
JoinWell.com.
Give us your feedback.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.